Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, or should I say good day. I trust all of you are well and that um, you are managing these difficult times. Um, Guys, I understand their different perspectives and that people see the way forward in different ways. And that very much relates to your values and attitudes that we're going to be looking at today. Guys, as usual, okay, I'm just going to go over the slides briefly. I hope this is helpful, just to give you a little bit of guidance. As usual, I'm not going to go over the outcomes and topics. You can read them for yourselves. Your values, guys, are your guiding principles. They are the things that determine what you will do and what you will not do in your life, guys. They are the things that say to you, this is what is important to me. Let's say honesty is important to you. If honesty was very important to you, then you would struggle, say, to tell a simple lie, a white lie in many regards. If life is very important to you, let's say you're a young person, you get pregnant, and life's a guiding value to you, then abortion would be extremely difficult decision. It's something that you'd pain over and maybe not be able to do. So your values guide your behavior. In terms of an organization with values tends to function in a more ethical and often more sustainable way, because values essentially keep us on the right road. So if you select a set of values for your organization, they guide your actions and they make you or help you to um, accept or to make profits in a way that is acceptable both to yourself, that you can live with yourself, but also that the community can live with you. Because there's often many ways to make profits that are not very ethical or are not particularly uh, honest. So you get all these values, and often organization has a value statement. For example, on the slide here, it could be excellent, could be responsive to their customers, service could be a value, integrity and honesty, innovation could even be a value. So we've got all these values that guide our behaviors. Um, Okay. So, guys, values refer to attitudes, codes, and principles and beliefs that I've said, and they form part of your personality. At the core of your personality is your values, guys. Because why we say it's at the core of your personality? Because if you try to change these values, it can be very disruptive to you. So, if you have to do something that you believe in very, very strongly, and you have to violate that value, you could feel almost that your whole personality or your identity is being disrupted in some or other way. Okay, but we also have a value system which ranks values from core or central values to peripheral values. So our value system, our core values could be life, honesty, integrity, um, steadfastness, etc. But we might also have a value, say, to look after the environment, or to recycle might be one of our values. But it's like, yeah, it's something we've learned in various times. And let's say we don't recycle everything. We feel a little bit of guilt about it, but we say, oh, I can't recycle everything, etc. But a core value, if I violate that value, then I feel a great deal of guilt about it. Okay, we also tend to evaluate other people's value systems. We judge people by their values. We say to people, is that acceptable? We make remarks. If you think about what's going on campus and the events around it, some of us question some of the things that are happening based on our value systems. It's either acceptable to us or it's not acceptable to us. Just think of your feelings around different things that you've seen happening, etc. So, freedom of speech could be a core value to you. So the right to protest could be a core value to you. So we believe that it's very important, but destruction of property, for example, may be also unacceptable to you. So you would struggle to do that. So that is about our values and our attitudes which are more superficial. Our attitudes essentially express our values in many ways. So they develop from attitudes, from values. So our attitudes about people or about things or about actions are based on our values, which are on a lower level. Okay, so an attitude is a selective orientation towards something or someone. So you can like an organization or you can dislike an organization. Say one of your values is or let's say just your yeah, a value is that you value health and you value well-being. So you may have a negative attitude towards working for an organization that produces cigarettes. You can have a attitude towards particular jobs. You can like a job or dislike a job. So, and it doesn't always relate to key values. Sometimes your attitudes are a lot more superficial in nature. You may not like a uniform, or you may not like the colors an organization has, or you may not like the hours that are worked in an organization. I've got two slides for you over here that put a level on values. The first one says values, which then influence our beliefs. Our values influence what we believe about life and about people. That is expressed in terms of our attitudes, and that comes out as our roles or our skills in life. And at the end of the day, is the final expression thereof is in our behavior. But our attitudes don't necessarily transfer into our behavior. We may have negative attitudes about something or someone, but still not have the power, or it may be inopportune to act out those in behavior. You may dislike your manager, which is a negative attitude towards your manager, but because your manager has power over you or has a say over you, you will not necessarily express that, or you will not act it out in a behavior. Okay, the second one I have for you over here is like an iceberg. If you look at your personality, I've got identity. The core of who you are is in the middle of you. That's right. And essentially that's expressed by your values. But it's broad. Identity is more than just your values. It's a sense of who I am, how I fit into the world, etc. That influences what I believe about people, about jobs, about communities, about a country, about the world in general. And then on a higher level is our conviction. So the things that are really important to us. Let's say we've got a value about. So our identity is that we are a caring person. We value the environment. We believe that we should protect the environment. So our conviction is that we should act in a way that looks after and sustains the environment. So we have then the capacity to work for an organization like Greenpeace or some other environmental organization, but a capacity doesn't always transfer into behaviors, guys. So we may have the capacities to act in certain ways, but we don't always act out because of social circumstances. Society often doesn't allow us to act out in the way that we are capacitated to. Okay, guys, where do we get our attitudes from? We learn them from our society. We learn them from our parents. We learn them from our peers. We learn them from society in general. We watch television. We uh, interact with groups in societies, etc. Okay, now an attitude has got three components: cognitive, emotional, and behavioral. Okay, guys, so cognitive is what I believe about something. Okay, so I believe in this example, my work is challenging and interesting. Okay, so I work hard and I'm a reliable worker because I believe and enjoy my work. Okay, but the evaluative is the emotion that's attached to it. So in this, I like or dislike my work. Okay, but these don't always coincide. So my cognitive, I may believe that my work is boring and yeah, so my work is boring and lacks challenge. My behavior therefore, I have a negative attitude. I dislike my job, but I'm still reliable and work hard because I want to keep my job. So your behavior doesn't always align with the beliefs and the emotions that you have with something, because there may be negative consequences in acting out those behaviors at the end of the day. Okay, guys, just as values, attitudes also, you get central attitudes which are long lasting, stable, they resist change, and they're part of personality, they're part of who you are. So you may have attitudes towards a, a particular political party, for example, and you support that party no matter what, because it is part of who you are. And even if the party has changed quite a bit, or um, perhaps violated some of its central tenets, your attitude is still that I am a supporter of that party. Your peripheral attitudes may be less long standing. So, oh, I'm a Springbok supporter, but the Springboks have lost 4 out of their 5 last games that they played. So, yes, like, I'm not so big on the Springboks anymore, guys. And it's not like my whole personality disintegrates because now the Springboks are useless and I've lost hope in them, etc. They're not everything to me. So a peripheral attitude is much more superficial. Your attitudes towards particular types of food. I'm always talking about my daughter. The food that she loves on Monday, by Friday, she is not, I don't like that anymore, etc., which frustrates her parents endlessly. But the point is that those attitudes are very peripheral and it doesn't affect who she is as a person. So they are temporary and they can change fairly easily, etc. Um, guys, and I still can't read what I've said on this slide, but it's pretty much about what you can achieve, what you can believe you can achieve. Um, my little Tweety bird over here. Attitude. What attitude? The thing over here, guys, we always often think of attitude as a way of interacting within the world, but we are only expressing one attitude over here. For example, Tweety's expressing an aggressive or negative attitude. If you want to be successful in an organization, a can-do attitude is often very important. Organizations value people with a can-do attitude. They don't want people who sit on their bums and say, like, oh, I don't know what to do now. Oh, this is too difficult. Guys, can-do is, how can I overcome this? How can I achieve this? How can I solve this problem? There's a woman called Helen Keller. She was born deaf and dumb, deaf, dumb, and blind. So she couldn't see, she couldn't hear, therefore she couldn't speak, because you learn through those, you learn through seeing and you learn through hearing. They are your core senses. She learned to interact with the world through touch. And her statement, you keep your face to the sunshine and you cannot see the shadows. So she remained positive despite all these negative things around us. And then you think of people who've got much less challenges in their lives and they blame the world, etc., for it, or they've got this attitude of the world owes them something, etc. How more challenging can't you be than if you are born deaf and dumb at the end of the day, guys? It is a huge um, challenge to overcome something like that. Guys, values and attitudes, if we speak about religions, are based on values and attitudes. They're at the very core of values and attitudes, and they also create conflict amongst. Okay. Guys, how do we change someone's attitudes? Okay. Attitude is a unique presentation of facts or interpretation of facts. Our attitudes influence how we see something. So, let's say you get up in the morning. Oh, the day is, oh, it's a terrible day because it's raining and it's wet. Or your facts could be, well, okay, the rain's washing away everything and it's rejuvenating things, etc. So your attitude for the day is influenced by how you perceive those facts. New information is often construed to fit in with those facts. So you walk out the door and you step in a puddle, oh, it's a terrible day, etc. Or you walk out the door and you look at the green plants, etc., and see how shiny and green everything looks, and that feeds into either your negative or your positive attitudes. So attitudes also provide mechanisms for selecting facts. We tend to select facts that support our attitudes, and we tend to dismiss facts that are less supportive of our attitudes. They serve as defense mechanisms as well, guys, because they essentially, our attitudes define who we are. And it helps us express who we are and our central values at the end of this day. So our attitudes towards people, towards objects, towards animals, towards the world in general, expresses our central values, and they provide our identity. They say who we are, guys. If your attitude is always and your values are always changing, guys, and you lack an identity, guys, and you're floating around. Your values define who you are. And they say, if you ask someone who they are, they express themselves. I am a trustworthy person. I am honest. I am outgoing. I love nature, etc. These are your identity. But if that changes the whole time, then you have a fluid identity, and essentially you struggle to be in the world. So they also provide a platform for a social exchange. Guys, think of, you meet someone, what do you discuss? You discuss sport, you discuss your attitudes to about various teams and various figures in society, etc. So they help us to talk to other people. And we often use group attitudes to justify our individual attitudes. So the group believes that, therefore, what I believe is expressed by the group attitude. Okay, guys, now, how do we change attitudes? Because they are important to defining who we are, they influence our identity, and there's two processes involved here, guys. If you look at um, Okay, so I'm going to deal with the second point on the slide first. I'll come back to cognitive dissonance, self-perception theory, guys. We often are confronted with perceptions of our own behavior. So let's say I drive a car. I think I'm a particularly caring person, guys. So, and then I don't let people into the traffic. So then I've got to perhaps reevaluate my perception. Am I that caring? Or perhaps I'm not as much as a caring person. So self-perception theory says we continually evaluate who we are and how we see life, etc. Cognitive dissonance, on the other hand, says, guys, when we have two or more cognitions and there's an imbalance between the two. Let's say, guys, my cognition is that health is important, and on the other hand, I smoke cigarettes. So this causes tension. Okay, so we have to do something to break down this cognitive dissonance. Festinger says that there are four different ways of doing it. Okay, so seeking new information to support one's belief and avoiding that information which increases dissonance. So, okay, so we find out then that electronic cigarettes are supposed to be less dangerous and less damaging to our health. And then we avoid all the negative publicity about electronic cigarettes, and we smoke our electronic cigarettes at the end of the day. Okay, we misinterpret information. So we say, yeah, cigarettes cause cancer, but it's only in people with the genes that cause cancer. There are people who've lived to 90 years old who smoke, etc. We find social support. Have you noticed smokers sit outside their buildings and smoke with other smokers? I know by law you have to sit outside, but the issue is also that you hang out with people that do the same thing as you do. And then we play down the significance of factors. Guys, it goes very much with misinterpreting information. So yes, cancer causes uh, cancer and emphysema, but yeah, it only causes it in some people and it's not as serious as they claim, etc. So we play down those values, and that decreases the tension, and we keep on smoking. The other side of is, if that we discover that dissonance, we see all of those things, then we start to change our attitude, and we perhaps say, okay, I need to stop smoking at the end of the day. So that comes with persuasive communication. I want to persuade a smoker to stop smoking. So the credibility of the communicator. Someone who's never smoked wants to persuade you to stop smoking. What does he know about it? He doesn't have credibility. Credibility often comes with the person who is, or it does come with the person, but it comes with the age of the person, it comes with the experience of the person, etc. The characteristics of the communication. Okay, guys, you need to provide both negative and positive, guys. If you only provide negative information, so smoking causes cancer, emphysema, dirty lungs, yeah, and if you overemphasize it, guys, then you actually scare the person, and it can have the opposite effect, so they can ignore the information completely or just block it out or refuse to listen to it. So it's important that emotional content of a message is balanced and it's not overly scary, but there must be an emotional content as well. And guys, it's also important to present both the positive and the negative. Guys, I'm a former smoker. Smoking is enjoyable. Let's face it. It tastes nice, etc. It feels nice at first smoke in the morning. On the negative side, you stink. You cough. You can't taste your food. So you've got to balance out that communication. So you've got to acknowledge that there are some positives, because if there weren't any positives, the person wouldn't have the attitude and the consequent behavior as well. Okay, the channel, guys. If you think about advertising, advertising is all about changing attitudes. Advertising is about, uh, is about getting you to buy a product. Therefore, they're changing your attitudes towards a product. Guys, think of YouTube. You don't watch the adverts. It's very difficult to capture your attention. So these days, we have to think very carefully about the channels that we use to communicate with people. And then the audience, guys, if you've got, it's easier to change attitudes where you've got an active interaction, whereas if you've got passive recipients, guys, they sit there, they listen, and they can ignore what you say. Where there's a strong group division within the group, guys, so there's key big parties that either stand for or stand apart, it's often more productive if you approach individuals on their own as opposed to trying to convince a group. Hey, guys, so how does attitude affect behavior? Guys, just think about if you've got a positive attitude or a negative attitude. My clock watcher over there, there's a statement, attitude is everything. Guys, one day in an organization, attitude is very much going to get you ahead. Attitude is going to determine whether you are successful or you're less successful at the end of the day. So, guys, in terms of work, job satisfaction is a predominantly positive attitude towards work. Um, if you look at chapter 8, I think it was, at the quality of work life, factors over there, I listed about 12 of them that influence positive job satisfaction, that they make people more satisfied. Interaction or time with the family, equipment that works, managers that are supportive, environments that are conducive to working, having the necessary resources, etc. But guys, when people are dissatisfied, they, their responses, guys, can either be constructive or destructive, and they can be active or passive. So you've got two dimensions, constructive versus destructive, and active versus passive, sorry. So let's deal with the destructive attitudes. Okay. So if I am unhappy with my organization, I leave the organization. So exit, I go find a job somewhere else. That is an active destructive. It's not necessarily destructive for you, because you can go to something better, but can be destructive for the organization. But it could also be destructive for you if you leave the organization and not go to something better at the end of the day. Or, guys, the attitude that the grass is always greener on the other side. And literally all organizations have their problems, etc. So you exit to go to another organization and discover exactly the same things. A passive response to job dissatisfaction is neglect. So you start working less hard, you don't do everything you're supposed to, and that can lead to disciplinary problems. Okay, guys. Now, if you are a constructive way of dealing with dissatisfaction is that you voice your dissatisfactions and attempt to change the issues within the organization. But it may not always be possible. It depends on the culture of the organization, whether it allows that. Part of your dissatisfaction may be that you can't voice your grievances within the organization. Okay, but you could also you could be dissatisfied with the organization and you could remain loyal to the organization because you've been with the organization for a long time, etc. So you essentially unhappy, but you carry on and do the same job. Okay, guys. It's important to measure job satisfaction. There's various questionnaires. I've got 2-year job description index and Minnesota satisfaction questionnaire, guys. But the important thing within organizations, if you measure job satisfaction, you need to deal with it because it can make employees more dissatisfied. It's like, I've told you I'm unhappy about this, and now you're not doing anything about it. Now I get even more dissatisfied because you know what the problem is and you're ignoring it. And okay, guys, on positive organizational attitudes, one is organizational commitment, and we get 3 types of commitment: effective, continuous, and normative commitment. Okay, effective, think of effect, emotion. So you've got a desire towards stay within an organization. I like the organization I work for, I'm loyal to the organization I work for. Continuous commitment is a desire to protect the investment in effort and time already put into the organization. So I've been working for this organization for a number of years. So I am loyal to them and I'm committed to them because I've been with them for 20 years, etc. Guys, remember this one, guys, when you select your jobs, you're young, you've got everything ahead of you in life, guys. Be careful of getting stuck in an organization where you actually aren't that happy and you just stick around because you've been there forever or if they got good benefits, etc. And then normative commitment is the belief that you've got an obligation. So even if the organization treats you badly, you tend to believe it's individuals treating you badly, but this organization deserves my loyalty. So this organization, let's say I was a member of the police, and the police deserve my loyalty at the end of the day because it is an organization that upholds society's values and law and order in society. But at the same time, the work circumstances aren't pleasant, etc. But I ignore that and I essentially remain committed. Okay, then you get something called organizational citizenship behavior, guys, which is about um, discretionary behaviors that are not part of the job. So people who exhibit high levels of organizational citizenship can do any one of the following. They're altruistic, so they assist others, they volunteer for things, they help their colleagues, etc. Civic goes with altruism, assisting others. Civic virtue, they volunteer, they put up their hand when something needs to be done, etc. Sportsmanship is they put up with difficulties within the organization. So the photostat machine doesn't work. Hey, I'll make a plan, I'll walk down the passage, I'll go find another one. The printers don't work. I'll print the stuff at home. It's not the end of the world, etc. Conscientiousness, they arrive early. They are dedicated. I've got a mate who goes to work at 5 o'clock in the morning. I think he needs his head tested. But he's extremely conscientious. So his job doesn't require that he be there at 5 o'clock, but he's conscientious. He's dedicated towards the organization. And then boosterism is people who sell the organization and are positive about the organization. Okay. Guys, engagement is also a positive attitude towards the organization. And if you look at the definition, simultaneous physical, cognitive, and emotional absorption in their jobs. Guys, people who are engaged in their jobs love their jobs. You often think of artists or people in creative professions, etc. But they're people who enjoy working in the job. So they enjoy being there, they enjoy doing the job. I think on the next no, I don't have it on the next slide. There's a slide somewhere that says about basically, if you love your job, it's not work. And if you are engaged in your job, guys, it's something that you enjoy doing and you get energy from it. And it's something that um, essentially boosts you, and you are a positive part of that job. Guys, also remember now, when you select your jobs, guys, think about this concept. Because if you don't love your job, it's something that you're going to be doing for the next 30 or 40 years. And imagine doing a job for 40 years that you hate, guys. And there's lots of people. Think of your parents. I can bet you there's a whole lot of your parents that come up every day. They complain about their organizations. They complain about the job that they do. They're just unhappy. And it's essentially because they're in jobs that they can't engage with. They don't really enjoy. It's a toil as opposed to a pleasure. Okay, guys, in terms of engaging um, or in creating engagement, you need to look at macro level in terms of the organizational support, the environment of the organization, and then the leadership of the organization and the characteristics of the specific job and challenging goals. Go to YouTube and look at a video called Working for Google, and you will see examples of an organization creating engagement. They create this amazing work environment. They give their people great benefits. They feed them. They create workspaces that are comfortable, that are desirable. But it's all about getting people to be dedicated and engaged with their job. So, guys, if you look at the process over here, don't worry too much about the process, but it's about an organization creating a space in which its employees can engage at the end of the day. I've got an example, guys, of an employee satisfaction survey over here, going back to the earlier point about measuring employees' satisfaction. Guys, the key point is you have to act on this. If you don't act on this, you are wasting your employees' time, you're making them more dissatisfied, and essentially you are exasperating or increasing the problems that you already have in the organization. Guys, now values. I think I am going to record a second session on values. Because there are still 11 slides to go, guys, and I'm sitting in my car waiting for my daughter. So I will do the second um, one on a video shortly, or I will just